Hey guys, Elise Quevedo here, and today I'm with award-winning journalist and head of digital strategy and content at broadcaster, Pipo Serrano. Hey Pipo, how are you today?
Very good, Elise. Happy to be here with you. How are you doing?
Very good on this beautiful sunny day. Now, some of you may remember the written interview I did with Pipo last year, so it was kind of overdue to catch up with him, and today I want to focus on digital. So Pipo, we all know that the world has come to a standstill when it comes to face-to-face events. We are seeing a huge shift in digital marketing and communications, for example, to promote brands. So as someone who has helped many companies thrive, especially around large newsrooms and media, can you tell us how companies can adapt their strategies at the moment?
Well, I think what's been proven after this crisis with the coronavirus is that people and companies need to communicate. Communication is a must, and since we cannot touch each other as we love to do, since we cannot hug each other as at least some of us like to do, we need to communicate. Because as you know, and we've heard about this many time ago, but now we've seen that it's real. If you don't talk by yourself, others talk in your name. So we need to communicate. That's key. We need to understand also that technology is a solution. It's not an end. We need to understand that you need to explain yourself all the time. You need to kind of explain what your company is doing, what's your strategy, how are you facing the crisis. Try to address to your people. That's something that I discovered. It's so important in this crisis. We tend to think that external communication is a must, and it is, but also internal communication. Talking with your team, explaining them what to do, explaining them how are you facing the crisis, how do you think it's going to affect you. And that's been clearly a must in terms of when people is afraid and worried about their future. And then I presume it's very important that we, in that same sense, we focus on the people in our team, but not only internally. I mean, we stop talking about products. We stop talking about physical things. We stop talking about material things, and we start talking about people and things that humans matter. That's what makes sense. And last, I would say that it's important, and I think it's necessary to clarify which are your priorities. Some people has been for a long time without sharing what are the core values of their companies, because they feel like if we talk too much, we can kind of make some or say something wrong, or we can just I don't know, make a disaster. And it's been proven that you need to express yourself. So you need to clarify which is your mission, which is your vision, and how are you going to face whatever comes. So I think that those things are key. Basically, I would say if we have to kind of summarize it, external communication and internal communication are a must.
Wow, I love those answers, Pipo, and I love how you touch on the people factor, which is something that you and I often share offline, which is behind the technology. There is always a human being. And now you mentioned we're both in Spain right now. We love to hug, we love to kiss people, and we don't have this proximity. Companies have been very quiet in the past, and now they have to talk more in a different way. How do you do this virtually? So I love the way that you've summarized that, which now takes me on to artificial intelligence in digital, because AI has and is also changing the way that digital works. For example, we're using Zoom, we're using emerging technologies. So what are some of the main benefits of artificial intelligence and emerging technologies when it comes to digital transformation?
Well, I think that we're not anymore into a revolution. We're not anymore into a digital revolution or transformation. We're in a real digital new era, let's say. We're in a new moment. So we need to understand that emerging technologies out there. The problem, and I think it's been pretty clear that when trying to face this crisis, this coronavirus, this COVID-19, we've realized that some people ask me, and knowing that I'm pretty specialized on digital, hey, people, how is it possible that if we are all the time talking about artificial intelligence, talking about so many modern things, so many kind of super futuristic things, how can we not beat this small, little, tiny, and terrible virus in a much more effective way? The truth is that we are doing it. And there are lots of things happening around in where technology is having a key paper and a key role on that. But I agree with something that someone told me a couple of weeks ago when interviewing a very good expert on technologies and especially on blockchain, that she was saying that we are not looking at the technology in a holistic way yet. And we kind of have very good experts in one thing, in another thing, and in a third thing, but we're not connecting them all properly. And this sounds to me like when we used to, let's say, study when we were kids. I don't know how it worked in every single place in the world, but at least in Spain it happened. When I was a kid, sometimes people used to explain you art and history like two different things instead of connecting them, because they are connected. So it happens to be the same. I feel like we need a more holistic view on technologies. And answering to the artificial intelligence thing, it's true that artificial intelligence is very important and it's very revolutionary, but it's true that there are many things to do in terms of artificial intelligence. First, we need to understand that artificial intelligence is based on data, but which data? Are we talking about big data or good data? We want good data. We don't want big data just because it's a lot. Second, it is important to have artificial intelligence, but who is programming? Who's behind? Who are the coders? And pay attention to the bias. There is huge bias in artificial intelligence. And we've seen that because basically half of the world is not connected yet. And we tend to think that technology is going to change our lives, but there is nearly half of the world which is not connected yet. And the other half of the world, there's a little portion of people creating the rules of our lives. And if we tend to leave all that amount of power into an algorithm, we can have lots of issues. We've seen that in several tests that have been proven in America and around the world with ADMS, with automated decision-making systems, that if you leave that machines or that algorithms deciding by themselves, you are in the trouble. So yes, they are really important, they are revolutionary, they're amazing, but we need to protect bias, we need to work on that, we need to work on regulation and have the human on the center controlling that algorithms. And definitely we need to think which type of data are we managing for that.
Wow, thank you, Pipo. And you see, this is why we're doing this video and talking, because you're so honest and you give such a real perspective when it comes to the realism of technology. You just mentioned good technology, the people behind it, whereas so many people just focus on, 100 years from now. And we're not, we're literally living in the technology of today. And you also briefly mentioned education, which was, from my perspective, people, education is huge to continue learning about these emerging technologies and the innovation that you've mentioned. So since you're also a professor, what are your views on the importance of tech or technology education, since this is not something we had as kids? And I'm not talking about just children or a school. I'm talking about technology education for everybody, for adults, to understand these technologies.
Well, that has a lot to do with what, in a way, with what I was saying. We are living in a moment in where we have, I mean, probably it always happened, and we can see on what's going on now in America with these racist things. But I mean, it looks like I was looking at one video of Muhammad Ali from 1971 for the BBC, and listening to him looks like nothing changed 50 years after. And there's something that it looks like they never changed, and that's why I feel like it's so important to pay attention to them. But we have too many divides, and there are continuously, I mean, all the time, huge divides. And we have a big divide in terms of education with the kids, and also depending on the kids. You know that since the COVID-19, 1 out of 5 kids in the world were not able to study because they don't have the ability. And many people think, yeah, but that happens in Africa. No, it happens in America. 1 out of 5 kids in America don't have access to the internet. So they were not able to study for 3 months, which is crazy. So that's important. But it's also what you said, and I think that's super important, and it's so interesting what you pointed out. There is a huge generation that we're asking them to connect with their governments, to talk with their healthcare programs and with many others through the internet. And they're not trained for that. I mean, when my parents call me sometimes and say, hey, Pipo, do you mind just connect to my computer and let's make a team viewer and just try to help me with this? And I see the amount of confusion out of all this, it's huge. So definitely we need a lot of education on that. We need to train these people. They didn't learn this when they were young, so we need to train them. And there is also something very important when thinking about education, about future. And I'm thinking a lot about that recently, which is, how is it going to be the future of work? How is this COVID-19 and this teleworking thing going to affect the future of work? And not only because of that. Think on, if you are a CEO of a company and you've got, it doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be big, 20, 30 people in your company, and you had to stop kind of working, depending on the area, depending on the sector, that it was hard to keep on working. And you have to hold your team and promise them that you'll have them afterwards. In Spain, there were some ways to try to tell people that the state were going to keep them with their salaries or partially with their salaries and all that. Which is the solution that you think? There is a temptation, which is, let's turn our society into a Spotify society, into a Uberization of the society. So when I need you, I buy you, but I don't want you. So I don't owe you. You are not part of my team. I just hire you when I need you. And that's so dangerous, and it's so damaging in a way, because you are not building a project. You are only using people. And that's something that I'm kind of constantly thinking on the last weeks. Although I have to say that I'm very lucky, because I've been working even more than ever. But I think a lot on the people. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you've touched in great points. And again, I feel we're in a turning point when it comes to this education part, because in 20 years, for example, things are going to be very different. Pretty much everybody, whether they are 60 or 70, they will know what technology is, because they are born and they're growing up in this era. But right now, technology is so new. Social media is so new that we seem to assume that everybody out there knows how to use a smartphone, for example, or how to use social media. Like you said, my mom, which is in a nursing home right now, never even used a cell phone. I have to call landlines, and when I go see her, every time she sees one of these, she's like, oh, wow, what is this thing? Because a lot of the older generation never really took on technology. And we're still, like you said, we're talking even people that they're in their 50s now are still estranged, because there isn't really an education system for them. Of course, we can say, well, at least people, hey, YouTube is there, they can watch videos. But the point is, they don't know how to go onto YouTube, or the YouTube, as they call it, or the thing. Where will that come from? And I believe over the next couple of years, it could be a turning point to show them, because this is what's been happening now, connecting people through social. But also this brings me to my next question, Pipo, which is, I often ask people, why should we trust emerging technologies? How can people, we're asking them to trust these things they don't know. So what are your thoughts on this topic?
I would say don't trust them. You have plenty of time to do it. I mean, lets others start testing them and working with them. No, it's not about, I don't think it's about necessarily about trusting or not. Of course, sometimes we have to trust some technologies, but in general, I don't think technologies are important in general. I think technologies are important depending on what they provide us, depending on what we can do with them. Again, this is not an end. This is a kind of a tool, and it has to be a tool. This is when someone says, if I've got a shop and I do a very good social media campaign, I can sell a lot. I always tell to my students, you were referring to them before, social media, digital platforms, let's say in general, are, and that's an example that I always give, are like a speaker. If you are an amazing singer and you're brilliant, but maybe 20 years ago it was very difficult to have an audience, and you are really good and you do some amazing video singing, you will probably be powered like boosted so fast, and you'll be amazing. And the day after, you'll be in the middle of Anfield singing before YouTube. I don't know. But if you are crap, if you are not that good, and you expose yourself with that big speaker into the world, it's going to be your last song. So that happens with everything. So I don't really care about technologies if they cannot provide me a good solution on anything. I mean, technologies are great, but they're great because they can provide me, for example, now to be speaking with you, Elise, as if we were together, and that's amazing. But for some other things, I mean, I don't really need them. And to be honest, some part of I love technology. I love digital. I'm absolutely passionate. My readings are always connected with these things because I love them. But at the same time, I'm really worried. And I see, for example, how the kids grow up and the way they kind of learn how you click something and something else happens. And this turns like into a Disney film in where a guy meets a woman and in 30 minutes they're married and happy. And life, it's harder than that. You need to work. You need to maybe get in love with something and work hard to get it. And our Amazon life, it's not that way. You want that, click it, and this afternoon you've got it at home. And that's not a very good education, I presume. We're losing lots of core values, which are important in terms of effort. And I remember a person in my team telling me some weeks ago, let's say months, because we've been closed for in this lockdown for a couple of months, but telling me one day, I don't manage properly frustration. And I thought that's because we are very used to those likes, to those thumbs up, you did it great. I mean, in your childhood, when you were growing and on mine, that was not that way. You do something because you believe that's the best thing you can do. And after several weeks or months, something will tell you you did a good job, or something will tell you it was not the good decision, and you learn. And after that, the second time you do it better, and the third better, and the fourth better. It's not about saying it every single step, good job, well done, keep on going. That's so technologies are good for some things, are terrible for others. I don't know if I'm explaining it too long, but that's the way I feel it.
I love it, Pipo, and to be honest, and this is why I'm actually smiling, because out of all the people that I've actually asked this question to, you've given me the most refreshing and honest answer. And it's also, I mean, we're both, again, we grew up without technology, and I feel that we're very blessed that we know what it's like to not have a cell phone with you, to literally, do you remember when it was like, yeah, go out and just come back before dark? We didn't have all these tracking applications for the children, or a child falls on the playground now and, oh my God, I need to take them to hospital and this. And there is this fear of everything, where back in the day, it was like, here is a Band-Aid and try it out, that's it. And then you're better. And that was it. We used to live in a very different era, and children now that are, I mean, of course, you've got a couple of kids, children that are 1 year old now and 2 are better at technology than many adults. The way that they are zooming through, here is my channel, here is my this is, they're missing out. I feel that many of them are missing out on what it was to be a child. We've got this influence of social, which is now making us want to be, well, not us specifically because we do it for business, but this kind of influencer of product phenomena, or becoming a reality star. So you've got children that by the time they're 10 and 11, they are becoming YouTube stars or Instagrammers. Where is their childhood gone if everything they do is out there, the pressure that they're under? Which takes me kind of to the next question, which with the current situation that we're living in, people, of course, we're seeing the light in many countries now, especially here in Spain right now. We are moving on and doing more things, but technology and social have played such a crucial role in keeping people connected, both for businesses, like again, this Zoom call, the telework that you were mentioning earlier, individuals have adapted, and they've started to see social and technology in a new way. So what changes have you actually seen, and what are your predictions for the future when it comes to the use of technology and social, especially over the next few months in business? What is the trajectory right now?
That's hard. I have to tell you, and I have to confess that every time I did a prediction, I failed. So I'm terrible at predictions, but I'll give you my opinion on this. And after many weeks, and I was lucky enough to interview very smart people and very, very interesting people for the Mobile World Capital Foundation and for some others. And I was able to go through several really relevant topics, from leadership, how's going to be the new leadership, to the divide that we're talking, to the impact on society, to lots of things. But my perspective and my feeling is that nothing is going to change that much, in a way, because I mean, in some terms, in a way, because we didn't really we didn't really decide this change. We didn't. I mean, things change when you feel like you're in a crisis, when you analyze yourself, when you realize what you're not doing right or what you're not happy with, and then you clearly decide what to change. This has been kind of mandatory. We had to do this. There's no option. So we had to adapt to a situation, and we were good at that. We did it. We did a good job. But probably after this, we maybe for some time learn or apply some learnings, and that will be great. Because for example, one thing that we did is we changed the order of our priorities. Material things versus real and important things. We've lost many friends, many people, or had some ill people that we're suffering for. But I don't think it will change that much. And the truth is that when you see now, when many countries are starting to going back to normal, or to this new normal that they say, things are pretty much the same, except for the masks and some other things. But people want to go back to the same. So there's going to be some changes, of course, some learnings, of course. In terms of working, if we think on professional things, I think there are two key things. First, I think companies realized that digital transformation was real, was important, was not about talking, was not about I am in social media and I've got a Twitter. It was not about that. It was about much more. And those who were ready, could manage properly on these last months. Those who are not suffered, and now they will have companies much more digital in order to apply all this teleworking or these things. That's on one side. And the second, I presume, if we're able to do it properly, that we will be able to have a good combination of both methods: the teleworking one, the digital one, and the physical one. So we will decide when it's important to meet in a physical meeting and be in contact with people. And sometimes we will be able to just arrange a quick talk or a good talk this way. And we don't have to meet while you are in some area in Spain and I'm in the other one 300 kilometers away from you. So I think that we will be able to decide which is a good combination. But let's see, I'm not that sure.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons you give this answer is because, again, well, we both come from Spain, even though we're kind of based in different countries, but the Spanish don't like to do things from home. Spain is too social, face to face. Come on, let's go back to work. Obviously, from a global scale, there has been a few companies such as Twitter or other big names who are saying, we're going to allow people or a part of our people to continue working from home, or adding some of these new technologies such as the Zoom meetings. I mean, they are now worth more than, what was it, more than 7 of the biggest airlines in the world, whereas last year it was like, oh, Zoom, you know, people knew about it, but not in the way that is now. So I have a little bit of a follow-up on what you said, Pipo, which, because you mentioned about companies and, you know, this power of digital. You are someone that spends a lot of time in this digital world, and especially now, what advice do you have for those companies that even after COVID-19, even after going through this Corona process, they are still not truly seeing the power of digital? Many companies, of course, they've reconsidered digital as part of a main shift on their strategy. What has your experience been? Because you mentioned earlier mobile talks, for example, they were not doing interviews over Zoom that much. Everything was face to face. So what is your advice for those that are still having that barrier that says, no, we will wait, we have money in the bank, we'll just wait and we will not have digital as prominent? What can you
say? I would say this is a countdown. If you want to wait to see what happens, keep on going. I mean, there's no problem. We can keep on going like in 19th century, or look at the world and how it's changing. This is like what happened with the taxi sector, with the music sector, with the journalistic sector. In some ways, it's happening right now. My colleagues still don't understand what's going on. Some of them, of course, there are some others doing brilliant things in New York Times, in Washington Post, in many others, also in Spain. But we need to, it's not about adapting things, it's about reinventing things. It's not about taking the past and bringing it to the future. It's about thinking from the future in a new term, in a new way. There's a new window, it's a new frame. So design something new, which is adapted, which is for now. So go ahead. You have a countdown, so wait until 0 and let's see what happens. That's one option. The second, if you don't see that digital is important, you're blind. And the third, if you want to focus on what comes next, although they tend to talk about automation and robots and all these things, people is going to be more important than ever. And people is going to be more important than ever in terms of treating your team as unique. And again, going back to, I mean, I think digital brings us now. It's teaching us how to look at the good old things. So the tailor-made things are amazing, and they have to be. And also in terms of projects, and in terms of the way you treat your teams, the way you learn from your people, the way you understand your clients or your projects. So that's important. And in that sense, we need new leaders, and we need more women. We need more men with women minds, let's say, more emotional intelligence. We need more people trying to understand that we are all the same, and that you're I mean, anyone can leader properly if they have empathy, if they are able to understand how you feel, to understand what your which are your best values, and not pretending you to be someone who you're not. So those things are important. But basically, I would say let's focus on the people. That's key. And of course, if you want to keep on going with the analogical way, maybe you'll be alive. Some sectors maybe are able to, but not many.
Wow. And guys, anyone watching this video, you can understand why Pipo is an award-winning journalist. His boldness, I'm sorry to say, but this is why I like to talk to real people, or why I'm very selective also as to who I talk to or ask questions, because I don't want the fake or the answers that everybody wants. I love at the beginning when you mentioned reinvention. I was literally, before I jumped on this video, I was talking to somebody else and we were talking about it's time to reinvent. You can actually, thanks to the power of social and digital, you can be anything and you can spread it to the world in a matter of seconds and minutes. But yes, feel free to count down to zero and be left behind, because digital is here whether we want it or not. Will you succeed in the analog way? Of course. And there are some industries that, yeah, digital don't matter so much. But on the overall, on the bigger picture, digital is here. People that disagree, I'm sorry, you guys are on YouTube, you guys have Netflix, you guys have a laptop that is connected to the internet. Everything you're doing is connected to digital, from TV to the smartphones to the way we do everything. So definitely agree with everything that Pipo has said. So then now, what is your one key takeaway you would like people to remember when it comes to digital technology and innovation for the rest of this year, this weird year that we have on today?
Well, I don't know. I mean, after all we shared, I would say take it seriously. This is not a joke. I mean, take it seriously. It's only about that, and focus on your goals. But I mean, if you can make your process more effective, more efficient, make it. Why not? I mean, we can avoid doing it, and we can act as in 19th century, or we can use the benefits of the 21st and avoid the cons of the 21st. So try to get the best of each part, but take it seriously, because I think there's lots of benefits.
That is a great takeaway. Hashtag, you heard it from Pipo. So before we go, what is next for Pipo? What's on the pipeline? Any projects that you would like to share with us, or anything exciting going on?
Yeah. I'm excited about lots of things, to be honest. I'm going through. I mean, I have to say that this, well, like every crisis, there's a lot to. I mean, there's a lot to learn. And I was talking with a very good friend of mine, Irish friend, some weeks ago, and I was telling him, and I think that's a good thing about attitude. I was telling him I've been lucky in my life because I've always did things that I love. And then I said, well, Joe, I'm not sure if that's the right way. I don't know if really I just get in love with everything that I do, or I do things that I get in love to. And he said, I think it's more of that part, that you get in love with everything that you do. So what I've been discovering is that I really get in love with everything that I do. And I think that's what makes me live happier in terms of professional, personal, because I mix it pretty much because I love what I do. So it's kind of personal. That's one thing. But regarding to that, I've been very lucky this time. First, because my closer people, my family and good friends are healthy, and that's the most important. And that's something really, really key. I think it's very, very important to distinguish in between what's important and what is urgent. And the important things are the important things, not the urgent ones. And so I've been very lucky on that. And I have to say that I worked a lot. I've been able to host and talk and interview and also participate as speaker in many very, very interesting talks and chats on the last weeks. I am now also joining, and I'm an advisory board member of the ESADE Forum for Technological Humanism, which is led by the former Secretary of State in Digital Matters in the Spanish government, José María Lasalle. And there are such amazing professionals there. We are like 10 or 15, and I don't know why they choose me, but the rest are amazing. I have to tell you it excites me a lot. That's one thing that I'm very happy with. I'm very happy with my work at Broadcaster, where we did very good things on these last weeks. Also in the radio, also in, well, every single thing. It's been really great and successful, I have to say. And now I'm working on having something that I've been kind of fighting with my time, with my schedules, which is to have my own podcast. I told you in one interview some time ago that I was working.
A while ago. I'm waiting for these people. I'm waiting.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, I have to say that it already has a name. It's already designed. By the way, if you go to Anchor .fm/Pipo Serrano, you will find it. It's called Digital Matters, because I think it's very interesting to pay attention to the digital matters, so what happens in digital, but also to try to put places in their side. I mean, there only matters of the digital, so things that have to do with digital, everything very human centric. And my intention basically is to use it as a way to steal time of people I admire, or I want to listen more time of. So basically what I want to do is, sometimes I meet people in congresses or in some certain events, very relevant events, and I have time to talk with the head of digital for the city of New York, or for United Nations, or I don't know, for lots of places. And sometimes I've got people that I'm connected with, for example, with this Forum for Technological Humanism, that are amazing and brilliant guys in AI, other things. And sometimes it's people that I interviewed for the radio, and I feel like in 10-15 minutes in the radio is not enough, and I want a bit more, and I want it for me. I don't want more people around. So this is like kidnapping these people for 20-30 minutes. I don't know if it's going to be weekly or every 15 days. I'm not sure yet, but I've got a list of people I want to interview. I've been managing a bit the platforms and the tools, because of course I've been doing radio since I was 14, and it's been some years since then. Every single day or week in my life I've been doing radio, so I want to make it nice, not super complicated, not super complex, but nice. And I'm working on that, and I expect to be on air with maybe in 1-2 weeks, and I hope you will be there too. I want to interview you too, of course.
You know, you can count on me. And guys, you can definitely see what he said. He loves everything he does, or he falls in love with everything Pipo does. And this is why I love to hang out with Pipo, or we talk often. Who doesn't want to be around people that have good energy? I always, as you know, people also talk about find your passion, find something that you're really good at, or you have an interest in, and then you won't really work a day in your life, because everything is so enjoyable. And like you said, it's like you told to your other friend, it's not so much about I do what I love, it's that everything I do, I end up falling in love with, because I'm so passionate. And this podcast, I remember we spoke about this in Barcelona last year, and then this idea, I want to do this, and then during the interview last time. So yes, you wanted your time. People, you interview so many people as well. You are always highlighting everybody else. And it's one of the reasons we did this, because you have so much knowledge. You have so much more. Of course, you are one of the best interview journalists that I personally know, which is why everybody always asks you to interview other people. But at the same time, you have so much more to give, so we need to put you on the front line. And the podcast is another way to not be restricted like on the radio. Like you mentioned, sometimes 10 or 15 minutes is not enough. You need maybe 2 or 3 podcast sessions over a few weeks. It's the same as this video has to come to an end, and I could talk to you for the next 2 hours, but we're gonna have to divide it into 3 or 4 videos, because when there is knowledge, there is never an ending kind of opportunity to keep on talking about what we do. So Pipo, thank you so much for your time. As always, it is a pleasure talking to you. Guys, this is Elise Quevedo. Until next time, see you soon.
Thank you very much, Elise. Thank you. Thanks. Bye-bye.